watching Famous Dave on YouTube.
All right, welcome back. Let me pull up. Let me just make sure I'm on for one thing here. Okay, welcome back. So first of all, I want to apologize for yesterday. I'm not quite sure what happened. I did film like a live stream that lasted several minutes, and when it posted, it was only like 10 seconds long, so I'm not quite sure what happened. But essentially, I was talking about how GameStop, it was a genius post saying that GameStop was definitely going down yesterday. No, I posted that GameStop would run its course at some point. As you may or may not know, I've been short the stock for a long time. Anyways, I've been getting my account is coming back to life. If you're new to this channel, essentially this is a channel about the VIX and VIX products that kind of went almost completely off the rails about a month ago because I started trading GameStop and moved away from the VIX for a moment, and it hasn't turned out very well at all. In fact, I got basically obliterated. Fortunately, the account has somewhat come back to life over the last session, but hasn't been a good month. And but we'll see if we continue to move lower here, maybe things will kind of come back in line a little bit for us. But despite losing money, I've just found the posts on StockTwits and whatnot over the last couple weeks to be hilarious. I did go on Wall Street Bets and check out a bunch of the memes there, and I find that to be hilarious as well. So maybe we can take a look together at some of the StockTwits stuff, and I can kind of show you what I mean by it as hold on, let me move over here. So but just before we do that, just to update you for a second here. Yeah, GameStop offered now 193. It closed 220. We're down, 15, 16, 17 bucks from there. So that's nice. We will see if this follows through to the downside today. If you know me, then you know that I am a trader who freely admits that nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, and I don't claim to know what's going to happen in the future. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But that being said, let's take a look at some of these hilarious posts on StockTwits here. So let's see. It's over. No, I don't want to look at ones that are it's over. I want there all of a sudden, if the stock, you'll notice this on StockTwits for one thing. If a stock was down the day before, then the sentiment is negative almost always. If it was up the day before, then the sentiment's almost positive. So people kind of follow what happened the day before. Then let me see because I found some great ones earlier. There was one where the guy, my favorite narrative is that this is just the beginning, that the purse squeeze was nothing. And the reason I disagree with that scenario is that the first squeeze, there was a ton of short interest. Now there's much less short interest. So it follows to reason that with less short interest, you're going to have less extreme of a rip to the upside, not more. But let's see. It's funny that all of a sudden there are a lot more bearish posts now that it's going down. But one of the things I was talking about yesterday was that the chance that people get their stimulus checks and just put them all in GameStop. I think a lot of people though are kind of following the premise that, okay, well, if I've got money and I can choose between GameStop and AMC, why not put it in AMC? I get more shares for my money, right? AMC right now, let's take a look. I believe it's $12. Yeah, $13. AMC actually down 75 cents from yesterday, but it has made some big moves over the last few days. And people figure, oh well, I can get more shares with AMC and the percentage moves are bigger. Look at that. There's that initial rep to 20, and we are still kind of spiking on this one. I mean, we did back off a little in the last day or two, but it seems like the narrative is, all right, let's move to AMC now from GameStop. So if we look at GameStop so far today, we're in the pre-market still. It's about 8:30 in the morning. GameStop's traded 1 million shares, which is it's kind of on the higher side lately for pre-market, whereas AMC has traded 5 million shares. Now, if you were to actually look at this a different way, okay, so AMC is only a $13 stock, right? So if you do $13 times the number of shares traded, the volume, and you compare that to GMC times the number of shares traded, you get a lot more money changing hands with GMC, even though it's 1/5 of the shares traded. The share price is 20 times greater than AMC. So there's actually been more money traded this morning so far in GameStop, if you think of it that way. But nevertheless, here we have, let's go back and take a look and see if we can find some better post on StockTwits here. So thanks, paper hand scumbag Jinx Portnoy. You're buying 1 million last Thursday, put the kibosh on GME. Way to go, scumbag. So it's Dave Portnoy's fault that GME went down because he bought shares. He made it go down. Here's some guy's post, short vol show. Let's see what else we can find. Anything good here? There was one guy who was like equating GME, owning GME to like Jesus and all this stuff. Like Jesus is behind him. You will lose when you sell. Don't panic, sell. Pictures of busty women. If GMC gets low enough, or if GME gets low enough, maybe a new play, but AMC may clearly have a new play opportunity given GME is severely overworked while AMC has plenty of room to grow. Now, I think people are just comparing this to like one price to another, the stock price of one to another, and just saying, well, this one's 14, the other one's 190, and thus GME has a higher price. When you compare stocks to one another, you need to take the share price and multiply it by the total float, the total number of shares outstanding to see the actual value of the company, right? If you've got two stocks and they're each trading $100, but one has, 100 million shares and the other has 1 million shares, the one with 100 million shares is actually worth way, 100 times more. So it's not apples to apples when you just compare prices of two stocks. And the whole game of the stock market is not to say, oh, well, this company is good, so I'm going to buy it. The whole game of the stock market is the company being valued properly by the market? It might be a great company, but the price of the stock at the time may be overvalued by the market, in which case, even if it's a great company, you don't want to just, close your eyes and buy it. You want to wait for an opportunity where something is undervalued. I mean, that's really the trick to buying stuff. If you sell today, you'll miss the show on Friday and the glorious tendies next week. Hold strong. We like the stock. This guy, YEM 1993. Now, that's a fish reference. I'm a fish fan, so I like that. $800 call was paying $2 per contract yesterday. This thing pays so much premium. Best way to short is to sell 500 plus calls. Possibly, the reason the 800 calls are trading so high is not because people think this is going to go to 800, but it's because, one of the reasons is because you can buy the 800 calls and sell something else against them that's a lot fatter in price. So, this premium is justified in that this thing's moving around a lot and people are willing to buy it. So Hey, apes, if you sell now, it's like making 100% profit. Not losing money is the same result as making money when you think about it. I don't know what that means. Here, GME, you have a whole bunch of crybabies and a whole bunch of clowns in this group and a whole bunch of weak hands. Hold your grounds and stand by your stock. It sounds like a country music song about a cowboy. A stock isn't a cowboy that you stand by, like standing by your man. It's something that you reevaluate over time, and if the situation changes, then you can sell something. There's nothing unnoble about selling a stock. It's as if, okay, well, buyers are somehow noble and sellers and shorts are somehow not. Let's see. It seems like people are actually coming out of the woodwork now and being like, oh, obviously it's a short, but it wasn't like that before. That's this interesting picture right there. Buy your shares before it goes to the moon. Thanks for the cheap shares. Added pre-market. Yeah, I'm all in. It's never good to be all in anything. You want to save bullets one way or another. Market makers, and this is another thing that I find hilarious, that somehow market makers are running the market and running the show. Market makers are just responding to the order flow. They don't run anything. They're just trying to stay alive and make money, but they don't have any, like, some huge power. This big group of people that are jumping in and jumping out of this have a lot more power than individual market makers. I saw something yesterday that was saying that DFV is he made something like $23 million. Remember a couple weeks ago, that Kitty guy, he was back in and he bought another 50,000 shares. That was when the stock was around 40, and presumably he rode it back up to 200 again and sold it. And he also owned some calls, it was saying. So I think that guy made millions and millions of dollars, which is great. I love seeing people make money. One retail can trade at 9 a.m. We should see some plus action. Whales are just chilling and waiting. Millions of shorted shares that aren't low enough to cover and not moving high enough for any of those hedge fund long positions to help recover their losses on the other side. Everybody seems to know. Yeah, I find it hilarious how everybody seems to know what everyone else's position is, even though most of everyone's positions are not disclosed. This guy, he knows he doesn't have a position, but he knows what's going to happen. He says, I see this bleeding slowly, end of week under 250. Well, let's see. Under 250 at the end of week seems like a safe bet, considering we're trading, 190 right now. Thank you for that brilliant advice. Down 30% today. You say GME is done, but it's just being manipulated. If you're looking at AMC, you'll see that the same manipulation is going on there, but it's just more buying power than here. Here seems like sound advice. You can have paper hands, diamond hands, or whatever hands you want, but the key to protect your capital and live to trade is to protect your capital and live to trade another day. Yes, indeed. Bring your GME profits to Tesla for legitimate investment. I guess that's kind of sort of good advice, although Tesla seems kind of overvalued as well, so that's not the advice I would follow. I'm not selling anything, man. No way, man. I saw one and the guy's like, I wrote it down to 38 and I bought it. I paid 300. I wrote it down to 38 and now I wrote it all the way back up. I'm not selling anything, man. I'll write it back down to 38 again if I have to. It's like, what? Why is that good? And if you think it's going to 38 and you're going to ride it down and back up again, why don't you just sell it here and then buy it back when it gets back down to 38? We haven't had a deep red day, only blood green for literally 4 weeks straight. It's okay. We lost a little short term, but short term means nothing. We're getting to add back our positions and much here at prices we saw a week ago. It's super high. Have perspective and relax. And remember, the bear posts literally all disappear the second we're green, even for a second. Wait, we haven't lost much. Dude, you know where the stock just came from, right? It went from 348 down to 192. So it's lost a lot. It's not like it hasn't lost anything. I'm wondering in the chat if you think, do you think that this stock is going to go back up and like do you think it's going to take out that 300 high? Anybody who's watching now, do you think this stock's going to take out the 300 high? What was it, 348 like a week ago? I tend to think it's not, but the thing is I'm not a very credible predictor lately because I was short all the way up here, so my opinion is not hold very much water here. Bye, shorty, adding more. It's funny how these people, they're like, I'm all in, and then like the next day they're like, adding more. How can you be all in and adding more at the same time? I remember a week recently where all my positions tanked. I also remember how they came back and then some. Hodl. Bots out in force. Much watched video. This guy said GameStop will gap at 200, then shoot back up. Just about every investing billionaire told you this ends poorly, and you convinced your broke self that it would be different this time. Man, the opening will be some really sweet deals. We will close green today. I wonder if we will close green today. Like I said, I have no special like prognostic ability. I can't predict what's going to happen in the future. However, it is helpful to me that we are down, so I'm happy about that. It's way oversold. Load it again. It's only a matter of time. We've seen this before. I think the narrative here is that it's going to make lower highs each time because we're not going to have the same squeeze as when it was, super short interest. And the fundamentals of the company haven't changed that much since then. Yes, they hired some new people, but they haven't made the transition to digital. And I don't see that they have what comparative advantage do they have over all these other companies like Steam and whatnot? My whole thought process about GME is like, it's a company that sells used video games, right? They're trying to make the transition to digital, but there's already a lot of competition in the digital space. If you look, I'm on Steam, and a lot of the video games there are like heavily discounted. And so you come into the market, what's going to give you an advantage over everybody else in a highly discounted environment anyway? The other thing is this stock has made so many huge moves to the upside that there really are no... I can't see that there can be a lot of like actual just kind of investors in this that are like, oh, I'm going to invest in this as a value and it's going to go higher. Because if you were that guy, you would have immediately sold it when it got to like 400 or 300 or 200 even. So, the vast majority are fast money people who got in to make a quick buck. And, these guys, regardless of what they say, you buy a stock paying 300 and it goes to 150, you might, come on here and post, yeah, hold on, hold tight. But quietly, you're pressing the sell button on your computer and you're not saying anything about it. I mean, all these guys that said they're going to hold, they're not holding. Otherwise, it wouldn't be going down, right? And you can say, okay, there's not much volume, and fair enough. But there's more sellers than buyers. More people. That's why it's going down right now, right? That's just the reality of the market. So all these guys that are saying we're going to hold no matter what, they're not doing that. And this is just, it's the psychology of the marketplace. It doesn't change. For a moment, everybody was kind of lined up and they act differently, like they, they're stronger and they have more willpower to hold than other people. But, over time, that changes. You can't maintain a certain emotion about something for extended periods of time. It's like the first month with this, it's like, hold tough, diamond hands, it's going higher. Then like a month later, you're like, hold tough, diamond hand, it's going higher. And then when it's actually already is way higher, after a while, you're like, hold tough, diamond hands. It's like, there's only so many of these memes you can watch and so much you can hang out in these chat rooms before you're like, should I go watch TV? Should I do something different? And that's, fatigue sets in. The next new thing comes around. And this is going to be, there's already articles that have been written about this saying, remember when GME was a thing? And, the media has already put this in the past tense, and people who are longer are going to put it in the past tense at some point. I mean, at some point, people come to their senses and say, why am I holding a stock that's like $200 and something? That's way higher than any other stocks in its group, and people start to unload it, and that's when the price goes lower. And it's happening quickly at the moment. Who knows if this will pop up? I don't know. Stay focused. Don't panic. Hold the line. What line? What are you talking about? People bought millions worth of 800 calls for this Friday, right before the close yesterday. Yeah, but they didn't buy the 800 calls because they thought this was going to 800. They bought them for a number of reasons, mostly probably to hedge their upside risk that they had from being short fatter calls lower down. So if you sell let's take a look at the 800 calls here for a second, where they closed, okay? Let's look at the front week 800 calls. Can we do that? So the front week 800 calls. Do we have front week 800 calls? The front week 800 calls. $2, right? 44,000 traded. The reason people are buying these for $2 is because they sold something like the 250 calls at $30 against them, right? So you collect $30 and you pay $2 of that $30 to hedge yourself for the to protect yourself somewhat to the upside. Now, certainly it doesn't protect yourself that much to the upside, but let's say you bought, I don't know, the 700. Well, the 700 call is not a great example. But you could use this to hedge against several other things. It's definitely, and it's funny because I don't know how many of the brokerage firms actually allow people to sell this call. When this first started ripping to the upside, I was short like the 200. I was short like 8 of the 200 calls one day, and I covered them. And the next day, the thing went like, it was trading $70, and I was short like 7 of the 200 calls. And it started to move higher, and I covered them. But the next day, it was over 200. Now, I don't see that happening with 800. I don't see this going above 500 again. I don't know if it'll go above 300 again. We'll have to wait and see. But definitely interested in the 800 calls. 44,000 open interest. I think, these are going to get churned into, they have 3 days left. They're going to get churned into dust one way or the other. But we will see what happens. The other narrative that people are putting forth here is that like market makers, which is really a misunderstanding, is that somehow market makers, if this moves higher, are going to be forced to cover their short calls. Now, when you have a strike, when you have an option, like let's take, for example, the let's take the 220 calls with, or the 230 calls with 3 days to go. The open interest is 1,300. People are saying, okay, well, that means there's 1,300 short calls. So somebody's got to buy. So for each call, that's 100 shares of stock, right? So for each one of these calls that's short, if it gets to this price, somebody's got to buy 100 shares of stock. And if they're short these, they have to hedge them. So let's say you have to buy 50 shares for each of these you're short. Well, there's also somebody who's long all these calls. And when the person that's long the calls, when this goes up, they either sell them out or they sell stock against them. So really, a lot of times when people are analyzing, okay, well, there's short calls out there and people have to cover, they're only looking at one side of the equation, the short side of the call. They're not thinking about the other person who's on the other side of that trade, who's long the call, who quite possibly is going to do the opposite behavior to that of the person who's short the call. It's funny, and I'm not being obnoxious. It's funny to see that, the armchair analysis of people who are new to the market just coming in and just spouting stuff that they don't know about. And I'm not saying I'm some great genius. I'm just saying that I've studied options theory and I've taught options theory, and people should go ahead and study this options theory before they spout off. It's not rocket science. It's like, if you do 1 year, 1 semester college level math course, if you can imagine that, that's the kind of knowledge that you need to understand options basically. And it's not that much, but it is some knowledge that you need to accumulate. And so I'm not a genius because I know very well the equivalent of 1 semester college math course. It's just that that doesn't make me a genius. It just makes me educated in a certain area. And all these people who are not educated in that area at all are coming on here spouting off and actually trading without that knowledge, which what they should be doing is hitting the books a little bit. Guys, I don't have GME, I have AMC, but diamond hands do not sell. What does that even mean? That's like just this like propaganda thing. Diamond hands do not sell. Yeah, but except for the fact that the head of the diamond hands probably sold his position at the top there. So somebody is taking advantage of the fact that you have this strategy to have the stock rally, and then they sell it at the top, and then you're like, diamond hands don't sell, and then it like goes straight down. And it looks like we're coming off the lows here a little bit. So let's see where we got down to. I'm gonna go off the air here in a second, but I do want to apologize for yesterday. I don't know what happened. I had a stream on, and for some reason it only 10 seconds of it appeared on YouTube afterwards. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. What's up, guys? Hey, what's up, Philip? Market makers and globalist bankers, dog whistle. Anyway, so I don't know if I'll be surprised if people are still with me this long into the video, but I was for a long time a market maker in options. So I'm part of, I guess, the evil empire. It looks like we have come off the lows here. If we look at the chart, we did get down to 190, I believe, and change, and we bounced off 186 here. So we are a little off the lows for now. I'm wondering if this is going to continue to move lower. I've been looking for this down move for a while, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we bounce off here at some point. My overall thought is that this is going to go back to 70 at some point down the line the next couple months. I think a price double where it kind of came from would be more than reasonable, considering the hype from residual. There are going to be some residual diamond hands people who aren't going to sell no matter what. We'll just leave the loss on the quote unquote on their sheets and just leave it there. There will be people who try to buy the dip here on the down move, and it will take a while to settle down. I think back to like Tilray. Let's take a look at Tilray action. This was a stock that did get the huge rally, like I think it was like 2 years ago. I had a guy on who made $1 million on this one. Let's see. I don't think we went far enough back. 3 years. All right, here we go. So it went to 300, right? And then it came back. And look, if you look at the months after that, all right, it went to 300, and then it just slowly ground lower right over time. And it wasn't losing a ton of money, but it just, the hype kind of just, dissipated after a while, and it ground lower. And this is kind of what I envision for GME. That's a 3-year chart. Here's a 3-year chart of GME. And you can see the first hype, second hype didn't quite get as high, and there might be a third hype, fourth hype, but I don't see this being like turn around and it's like going higher and higher and higher. Why? Who in the right mind is going to sit here and like pay $500 for this after all of this has happened, right? I don't think big money is going to do that, and it takes more than just a few retail investors to get this thing to move a lot. These moves did not happen just from retail investors. It was also hedge funds, big money interests, big banks, and stuff like that. And I just don't see people committing that kind of capital to this at this point, just because the fundamentals just aren't there. In the end, for a short moment of time, stuff can exist on hype, but after that, fundamentals kick in. It's just the way of the world. So anyway, I appreciate you staying with me. I'm going to get this channel back on track to more VIX-related content as my account kind of comes back to life with this down move. We'll see if we continue to the downside. Current position in GME, I'm posting on the bottom here. You can take a look at it or screenshot it or whatever if you want. But essentially, I'm long put spreads, and so it would be perfect for me if we went to 50 and sat there. But I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you everybody for watching, and I appreciate everybody sticking with me as this channel went through a little bit of a roller coaster over the last month or two. We will get things back on track. I made a couple trades yesterday to kind of buy in some of the cheap put spreads to the downside that I was short. I had some like I was long like the 150, 155 put spread, and I sold like the 32, 40 put spread against it, this sort of thing. I covered some of that way of the money stuff, and we'll see if we continue to move lower today. It was a good day yesterday. We'll see if we get another good day today. Thanks for coming on and watching, and thanks for sticking with me. More interviews and VIX-related content to come very shortly. You guys are the best. Really appreciate you.
You're watching Famous Dave.
Let's see if this, when I post this, let's see if this lasts for more than 10 seconds.